Well, greetings everybody and welcome once again to the latest edition of the sparkling program we call the Inworld Review. Today's date isn't actually very hard for me to remember because we're now in the 1st of June. And a quick double take here and I figure out, yes, it is 2014. Yes, I'm getting good at this now, aren't I? No more goose on the date. Anyway, you are watching the Inworld Review. We're broadcasting live from Chilbo in Second Life in association with AView Television. And if you're watching the show live, you've just seen an ad for Slartis.com, which of course is a new video on demand service where you can find all the juicy stuff, well, the serious stuff especially, on demand at your leisure, including back episodes and everything else, anytime you choose. So if you don't want to watch live, you don't have to. And if you don't want to watch television channels, you don't have to. You can get it all on demand. Video on demand is the future of television. So, but we're old school. We're doing a channel for the time being. Well, we're doing several channels, actually. Okay, so I'm going to switch over to my quick links, as it were, and just point out a few of the highlights I've seen in the week before we go over to Tara and Maria for the actual roundups. There is a new journal this week. You'll find it... the Journal of Virtual Worlds Research, and you'll find it at jvwresearch.org. And it's a new issue. It's entitled Assembled 2014, and it's quite a small issue. There's only about it's peer-reviewed research papers, and there's about 5. Yes, in fact, there's sadly 5 papers. No, 6. 6 papers plus an introduction. It's a very interesting journal, quite a heavyweight read, fairly academic, but it actually covers quite a lot of ground in matters related to virtual worlds. In last week's show, we did announce that Samsung Technologies were working on a sort of a competition to the Oculus, as it were, trying to bring their sort of VR headset online rather quickly. And it has emerged in the last few days that apparently Samsung are actually partnering with Oculus themselves on what they're calling a new media-focused VR headset. So it rather looks like Samsung's take on this is a virtual headset that will be designed for people to watch media rather than interact with the virtual world. But we'll see how that pans out. But it appears they are working together on these things. 2 other, Road to VR, which is increasingly a very good blog. They have a little clip up this week. I noticed it has been posted some places. People think it's a missing link in the Silicon Valley virtual reality event. In fact, it's actually just a short 3-minute segment from an existing clip called Moral Imperative. And they've got an article about it with Palmer Luckey of Oculus Rift talking why building virtual reality metaverse is a moral imperative. And they do actually sort of raise questions of, the haves and have-nots and who will be using virtual reality for what and at what cost. But rather coincidentally, I have another blog which is published at Forbes.com this week. Well, it's an article really rather than a blog by somebody called Paul Tassi. And they are talking about the CEO of a company called Take-Two. His name is Strauss Zelnick. I do have fun with names on the internet. And basically, he's CEO of this organization, Take-Two, and he worries about the antisocial aspects of adoption of things like the Oculus Rift. And I think we've actually said many times, you can just imagine every gamer on the planet donning an Oculus Rift to play their game. That is a known thing, and people who like virtual worlds like us, would probably don it for a particular event where they wanted to be fully immersed. But they are raising the fact that, if media is jumping into this and planning 3D movies and all this sort of thing, it's possibly going to be the final leap to the antisocial environment. You can't imagine a family. Well, I don't think that they do watch television together anyway these days, but you can't imagine that happening where everybody's sitting with an Oculus Rift on, enjoying the experience. It would take a lot of the social intercourse, the organic social intercourse, I should say, out of the equation if we were also communicating virtually, even to a person who was literally 2 feet away from us. So some interesting thoughts there that you can find at Forbes.com. And oh yes, finally, yet another journal, actually. This one is called Frontiers, and if I can find somewhere here my glasses, yes indeed I have, I can tell you the link. It's journal.frontiersin, so that's FRONTIERSIN.org. And the name of the article, mini review article, is Using Virtuality to Augment Perception, Enhance Sensorimotor Adaptation, and Change Our Minds. You just from the title, you can realize that is fairly well-focused article on a particular area of interest, but interesting nonetheless. So there's a sort of I think I've got them there, my sort of 5 key links there, and I got various other links up, but I'm sure most of them will be covered by Maria shortly. So without further ado, I'm going to hand the mic over to my colleague Tara Yates for her roundup of news, and probably a bit of Second Life news thrown into that one. Over to you, Tara.
Thank you, Mel, and greetings from the RL Sim of the Pacific Northwest, where the sun is out. Oh. Which is rather nice. And in fact, it looks like it's going to stay that way, which is even better. Anyhow, in the world of immersive spaces and all that good stuff, an interesting item I'm sure that Maria is going to talk some more about. The Immersive Education Initiative announced this week that all official immersive education events will now accept Bitcoin, starting with Immersion 2014 in Los Angeles this coming week, and followed by the European Immersive Education Summit in Vienna this fall. And to encourage widespread adoption of Bitcoin throughout its global community, the initiative is giving one free Immersion 2014 ticket to attendees who register using the cryptocurrency. Details are available at the conference website, which is summit.immersiveeducation.org. And I'll stick that in chat here shortly. Kind of an interesting item, so I'll be interested in hearing what Maria has to say about this one. Also in the world of conferences, one of the biggies of the annual calendar is the Apple's Worldwide Developers Conference, which opens tomorrow in San Francisco. It's always held at Moscone Center, which is the big conference center in downtown San Francisco. And of course, there's all kinds of wild rumors circulating about what sorts of exciting things Apple might announce this week. Stay tuned for those who follow such things. There is no particular Eat Your Vegetables segment as far as geeky sorts of stuff going on in Second Life this week. From the third-party viewers meeting, there's some stuff related to materials scripting that has been released on the beta grid, but it made my eyes cross when I tried to sort it out. So if it made my eyes cross, it'll make yours even crazier. So we'll just go on from there because it's not on the main grid yet anyway. And there was supposed to be an all-server scheduled maintenance of some sort on, I believe it was Thursday or Wednesday, that got postponed till next week. It's kind of interesting because, no, wait a minute, the one that got postponed that's next week was actually scheduled the week before. They skipped a week, but there was something else they did scheduled maintenance for on Wednesday. So it's just one of those things. It's when one of those is on the schedule, if you're not already in World, you won't be able to get in And it's a good time not to do anything with objects you can't replace or that involve spending lindens. Be warned if you don't pay attention to those things. We seem to be getting into a new round of events, but before we get into all the new stuff coming along, you have another day, today and tomorrow, to catch the 5th anniversary celebration of the 1920s Berlin Project. Yeah, they're having 5 days of events, and there's stuff today and tomorrow, and that's the end of that event. Coming up very soon, actually opening today, and you won't be able to get into the sim guaranteed, is the new round of the Arcade Gotcha event, which is if you're into gotcha at all, or just seeing what amazing small items and perhaps not so small items people are creating. The Arcade Gotcha event is the not to be missed. It runs all of June, so you don't have to get in there. And unlike real life shopping deals, where if you don't get there, if they've got a finite supply and you don't get there early enough, you're out of luck. With virtual goods, you're never out of luck, especially on the Gotcha events. Anyway, you can check out what's being included in this round at thearcadesl.com and Shopping Guides June 2014, and I'll paste that URL in as well, so you can look and drool if you want to. There's some very cool looking stuff. So with any luck, I'll be able to get in sometime this week, and I'll have some show and tell next week to wet your whistle if you're into that sort of stuff. Also, starting up a week from today, the Fashion for Life, the next big Relay for Life event starts. It will run from June 7th to the 20th. It's 10 sims of fashion, including, and there will be runway shows and a lookbook. Also live music and DJs. So that will probably be very busy, but a good place to see interesting new fashion stuff coming out in Second Life. And to buy stuff that helps support Relay for Life. Good thing. Let's see, next on the list here. Well, speaking of Gotcha, another Gotcha event that will starting the 10th of June. There's a new group called Tales of Fantasy. It's a new upcoming bi-monthly event, i.e. every 2 months, and will cycle through a variety of concepts as far as what they do. Their first round is Gotcha items, and with a theme of Empire of Gods and Goddesses. Stay tuned whether that one's actually worth going to, but it's a new group, so that could be quite interesting. If you hadn't noticed it, if you have not gotten tickets to see the amazing production of Paradise Lost, you are out of luck. They are completely sold out. That it runs through the end of June, so it's still going on, but apparently they've completely sold out of tickets, unless they bring it back for another run or additional days. You're not going to get to see it, which is really too bad. It's well worth seeing. However, coming up, they are doing a reprise of their production of Romeo and Juliet, which apparently is actually Romeo and Juliet 2.0. They have
that's actually well, I was invited to one yesterday morning, which I missed, and the other one is today, which I'm going to be listening to.
Well, no, they've got 2 dates coming up, next Sunday and the Sunday after, but they're at 11:30, so they just totally collide with the show, unfortunately. Yeah. But what I was going to say is that the producer said they've completely remastered it from the ground up, and redone the show with new techniques and technology based on what they've learned as a result of Paradise Lost, and it's better for it. They're doing 3 productions at LEA 14, the first of which has gone by, and then the next 2 Sundays. And this is actually a preview that they'll be rolling this out for a full season's run commencing in August. So don't feel like that's your only chance to see the upgraded version of Romeo and Juliet production, which I didn't see the first time around, so I'm really looking forward to that. Let's see, what was the next thing I had on my list here? Oh, yeah, it's kind of a short list this week. I think probably because it was a short week this week, with Monday being a holiday in the U.S. and also in the U.K., and people kind of getting into that early summer holiday stuff. But the ongoing discussion and blog posts and what have you from a week ago's virtual reality event in San Jose, in Silicon Valley. My favorite comment of the week on a post. Apparently, there's been a fair amount of bad mouthing of Second Life going on amongst Oculus folks, and to backtrack here from someone outside that realm who says, in reference to kind of the whole current stuff going on around Oculus and other things, there's just another hype cycle at work for this purportedly world-changing technology. The Rift, as it currently exists, has all the cool factor of a Segway scooter. And for those who don't remember the Segway scooter was hyped as the replacement for all kinds of vehicles, and you just don't see them. They just didn't go. Anyway, that's enough for me at the moment, and I'll toss it back to Mal to hand over to Maria, who I'm sure has a long list of things.
Yes, I suspect the long list is coming out. Well, thank you, Tara. I'll just intercede here. Following the sort of fashion blogs and the Twitter feeds during the week, a lot of images have been up on the picture sites, also by all the fashionistas, showing off the kit they've developed for Fashion for Life. So that's getting traction, even though it's only a sort of week away. And what is the other? Oh yes, well we spoke of the Romeo and Juliet thing. Now in Relay for Life, I got a post this morning from SL Inquirer announcing the Hope Ball for National Cancer Survivors Day, and that, believe it or not, is today. It starts at 1:30 Second Life time and goes on till 4, so it would probably just be warming up when this show finishes. So don't go yet, stay with us for a while. The location is Two Moon Paradise Zen Garden, and what I've got here is a kind of poster. So hang on, there is a slill. Yeah, Two Moon Paradise, 3 separate words for that sim. And the coordinates are 91, 149, and 3627. So it's high up in the sky by the look of it. Anyway, that is a Relay for Life event, literally going on later today. And I opened a couple of links. I've got quite a few from Second Life that we'll get to later, but not particularly now. Another Relay for Life is the Purple Tears events. And interesting. Yeah, that's today at 2 p.m. Rodeo barrel racing. Yes, I don't quite know what that is, but it sounds like fun. And oddly enough, they don't give a slow, which is really... hang on a second. I think... it says winner day with, but actually, yes, I think I do have the slow. It's Larette Island, 2 words, L-A-R-E-T space island, coordinates 215, 222. So if you're into barrel racing, or whatever that might be, you can support Relay for Life at that as well. And finally, from Fabulous 3 and SL, or one of the many places that advertise these things, I'll actually just get the link for the viewers here and paste it over the network to hopefully end up in the channel chat room. Yeah, there we are. Basically, the June hunts have arrived. We will have, of course, after the show, we'll be showing the latest happy hunting. Thank you, Pet. But you'll actually find a whole list of new grid-wide hunts happening in Second Life at that link I've just posted. So, many other things I have listed here, but we will get to them later. We're going to be joined in the not too distant future, meaning today, I hasten to add, hopefully, by Saffia Widdershins. She's involved in something spectacular at the moment, so she'll be sort of has to get away. So she'll be sneaking in on the edge of the seating here at some point, and we'll be bringing her into the conversation. And of course, one of the big things is the imminent arrival of the Second Life 11th birthday celebrations. Something's been put on by the lab, I believe, but also, of course, the massive community celebration that happens every year. So more on that later. But for now, I think we're going to be focusing on the open metaverse, and particularly, of course, the hypergrid. As I welcome Maria, Mama Maria. Meta Maria. Sorry, I got it wrong, didn't I? Anyway, so it's Maria Petlove.
We'll get him after the show, Maria.
Couldn't resist.
All right. Okay. So, so a lot of stuff happening. The one that got the biggest attention, let's start with that one first, was the ongoing soap opera drama Aviworlds. If you guys remember from last week, they are a particularly troubled grid with a large Brazilian user base, and they have been going in and out of business for the last few years and experimenting with all different kinds of business models. And they have an extremely loud owner, Alessandro Pompaselli, who is very vocal in every social media related to OpenSim.
Did you say his name was Pompous Sally?
Yes, Pomposelli, Alessandro Pomposelli.
Okay.
And I don't have a good Portuguese accent, but
No.
that's how you should say it. Also known as Alex Ferraris Inworld. And so this week, his grid was hit by a distributed denial of service attack. And this means that somebody sends a lot of messages to the grid, so many that the grid gets swamped by them and nobody can log in and out. Now, this is very difficult to guard against. Websites go down because of this all the time. You can try to reroute traffic. You can try to catch IP addresses. But this is a very difficult issue for anyone to battle. And so, fortunately, he didn't have to battle it personally. He had a hosting provider running the grid for him. And the hosting provider was ZetaMex, not to be confused with the other Zeta something company that's suing Oculus Rift. So, sound very similar, but very different companies. ZetaMex is just an OpenSim hosting company. So they were hosting this grid, and they were getting hit by this denial of service attack, and their own data center turned around and said, no, we understand things happen once in a while and you get spikes in traffic, blah, blah, blah. But if this keeps going on, we're going to have to kick you out. Anyway, so Aviworlds. So anyway, they figured out how to fix it. They fixed it. They brought it up. Went down again. Went back up again. And then Aviworlds decided to shut down. So 3 days previously, Alex was posting messages like, "Nobody can take me down. If you push me down, I'll pop back up again." And then 3 days later, he was like, "That's it. I'm quitting. I'm shutting everything down." He shut off all the social media accounts. He shut off the entire grid. No warning. So nobody was able to get any content out of the grid. And nobody was able to get the money back because for some reason, even though the grid has already gone out of business 3 or 4 times, people were still giving it money. So, so nobody could get their money back. And it's actually in the terms of service. If you read the fine print, the currency is fictional. And and as Alex posted everywhere, that he didn't have to give refunds. And also if in their currency purchase page, it was like something like cash outs were for only a certain amount of currency or above. But so I asked him about this. You didn't give any warning, so nobody could get anything out or get refunds. And he was like, "Oh, everything was free, so nobody bought any currency, nobody bought any land." So, which makes me wonder, how in the world was this a top 10? I mean, I know I apologize for this already for bringing this up last week, but how in the world was this a top 10 grid by popularity without anybody buying currency or renting land? But anyway, I digress, because turns out people did have currency and did rent land, and were posting that to that effect in the comments and sending me copies of their PayPal statements showing that they had bought currency from the grid.
Oh dear.
At which point he said, "Oh, in that case, just email me for a refund. I'll send you a refund." And I said, "Okay, great. I will pass along your email address to people." And then he said, "Well, since they're asking me for a refund and making a big fuss about it, I'm not going to refund them after all."
Oh, crying out loud. I think we can take it this grid is completely off the radar now.
No, because it draws huge amounts of attention every time they do this. I'm thinking it's a publicity stunt because they do this like every couple of months. It's like this major blow up happening on this grid. I mean, really, how many grids can you name? Inworlds? Maybe OS Grid? And this grid! There's 200 grid. There's 200 public grids out there. You gotta have some kind of differentiator. And in fact, I just read an article about it in Harvard Business Review about negative news. That when you have a little known brand or new product, negative news is actually better than no news at all. If you have an established brand, negative news will hurt your sales to a certain degree. But if you have no brand at all yet, even negative news will actually help sales because it increases brand recognition. And to some people, what's negative news to other people is not really relevant at all.
But so it's like they're saying no publicity is bad publicity.
Right.
Yeah.
So maybe a grid had a problem with backups and they got all this news about it, but they're fixing the backups. Or somebody might say, I don't need backups after all. And hey, this grid offers really low prices because they don't do backups. Oh, I want to sign up with them. So there's usually some kind of positive side, even to the most negative stories that hopefully marketers can spin or something. So, and the other reason why negative publicity can sometimes be good is because if say all reviews are positive, people don't believe them. So if you go to a review page and there's no reviews or only a couple of positive reviews, people don't believe them. And they've done a lot of surveys about this because, when do people buy stuff is a very big question for a lot of big corporations. And they've done surveys, and people who read negative reviews are more likely to buy the product.
Yeah. It's funny when I'm buying an Apple, something like that, the first thing I look for is the ones that talk about what's missing. Because usually all the reviews they post will be, "Oh, this is great, I downloaded it," and blah, blah. And so you've actually got to hunt down, for the negative. If there's no negative comments, even slight ones, I think, what's up here,
Exactly. You want to know, you want to be prepared for the worst. What's the worst about this product? Then you're like, I can deal with that. If that's the worst case scenario, that's not too bad. And it's better than what the competition has. So I'm going to go with it. So it helps create trust, and it helps create appropriate expectation. The positives and negatives of what to expect with a particular product, so you're a better prepared customer going in. So which makes you more likely to buy. So I don't think that this is the AviWorld's calculation that they're going to have a big scandal or disaster once a month, every month, and they plan it ahead of time. What's going to be our scandal this month? But if it is, then they're doing a great job because they do get a lot of attention from this. Other grids close down quietly. Nobody even noticed that they disappear 1 month from the stats. When this grid goes down, it really goes down.
It sounds like they really ought to. They ought to rename themselves Drama Grid.
Yeah, that'd be good. That's a good name.
Yep. Unfortunately, their hosting company got a little bit of the kind of overflow of drama because they were hosting this grid, and a lot of people think that a grid and a hosting company are the same thing, which they aren't. Like if you have a website, you can have it hosted a number of places. Your hosting company is not the same as the website operator. Sometimes it is the same thing. Some people run their own websites. Some people run their own grids on their own computers. And sometimes they don't. So in the case of AviWorlds, it was a separate company running them, doing the technology. And because ZetaMex provided support for the grid as well, some people thought that the grid was not just managed technologically by ZetaWorlds, but also owned by ZetaWorlds. So ZetaWorlds got some grief for this. And so they changed their terms of service, saying that we are not going to deal with your clients directly. If your residents have a problem on your grid, don't send the residents to us. You, the owner, file a support with us. So you, the owner, do the first round of support. And often the questions are trivial that the owner can just answer or have his own mentors or support staff answer. And if it's a technological problem, then you, the owner of the grid, send it on to us. So we, the technology company, aren't dealing with the end users of the grid all the time, which seems reasonable. And I'm surprised that they weren't doing that to start with. And they also changed it so that if there's an ongoing denial of service thing, that they have the rights to refuse service to a grid because it was a condition from their data centers. And they're trying to fix that and install some additional servers to help deal with that in the future. But that's a problem anybody could have. Anybody could get hit by denial of service attack, and you do the best you can. But you're not going to be able to keep a grid from going down at least until the attack is over. So that was the big juicy story of the week, and it blew up yesterday, and our moderator took the day off because it was a Saturday. It was a nice summer Saturday afternoon, and he went out to a bar. I don't know what he was doing, barbecuing or something, like normal people do. And this thing exploded with dozens of comments, half of them just way out there. And so we had to step in at the end of the day and just like delete half of them. It was just the personal attacks that were flying back and forth were getting really out of hand. In the dollar amounts were so ridiculously low. One of the people who emailed me about the PayPal purchase of the money was for $5 worth of virtual currency. This was what the fight was about. $5 worth of virtual. He couldn't refund $5 worth of virtual currency.
Yeah. I think this is getting silly, really, isn't it?
So my advice is when you join a closed grid, like Inworlds or Avanation or Second Life, don't build anything that you can afford to lose, and don't buy any currency. Don't keep any more currency in your account than you can afford to lose, because things happen. And if you can't afford to lose a particular build it offline in your own virtual world, like Sim on a Stick, or New World Studio, or Diva Distro on your own computer, or on something like Kitely, where you can save a backup of the whole build, and then upload it into the closed world. So if something happens, if you lose your land, if you lose your account, whatever it is, because things do happen, if that happens, you have a backup of your important content. So, and I tell this to everybody, whatever closed grid they're on, with an open grid, of course, like OS Grid or I guess Kitely now, you can always make a backup of your own content, and I recommend making backups on a regular basis as well. But with a closed grid, if you're doing a lot of building and the buildings are important to you, build them offline and import them. Don't have all your eggs in a closed grids basket.
In one basket.
Especially if the grid keeps going out of business and shuts everything down without giving anybody their backups. Especially then.
I have a feeling this might be a continuing story, and we haven't seen the last of them. But let's move on. But what else?
Stick them back. Yeah, keep having stick them back. All right. On a happier note, OS Grid is turning 7 in July, and they're getting ready for their celebration. They've already got some regions allocated. They're giant variable-sized regions, and so. If you want to market something to OS Grid residents or Hypergrid residents in general, because OS Grid is on a hypergrid, or if you want to participate in that, you can ask for an exhibitor booth. They're allocating them now, and make sure you get that done before it's too late.
Daniel Livingston, it's not Livingston, my fault. Daniel Voyager's blog had a post on that, which I've just put in chat actually, so people can click on.
It was one of the things that I mentioned in this month's upcoming events. So since we're talking that, I might as well hit some of the other events that are going on the hypergrid this month. A lot of poetry readings are happening on Kitely. Now that Kitely is hypergrid enabled, there's several writers groups on the hypergrid. One of which I didn't mention, Nara's Nook. I couldn't find the schedule. Once I track that down, I'll add it to the story. Nara's Nook is its own tiny little grid for writers. Then we have several regions on Kitely with poetry, including the Poesy region. And they have several events every single week. Then there's the Sian Chai Library, which also has several events a week, story readings and similar kinds of things. So it's very interesting. Speaking of story readings, there's also an erotic fiction reading going on the Avalonia Estate Grid, which is also hypergrid enabled. And that grid is getting together with some other adult grids to form the adult metaverse community, and they're on Google+. And they're holding joint events with other writers, for example, Nara's Nook writers, and getting a little bit of a hypergrid community going with them, with the Littlefield grid, which started out as an adult lifestyle grid. That's kind of evolved into a general purpose social grid, but still has a strong adult lifestyle component. So that is very interesting, the whole idea of communities that stretch beyond any particular grid that are organized by interest. I love seeing that develop. I think that's an extremely positive aspect of the hypergrid and of OpenSim, and I'm really glad to see it happen.
I think with the hypergrid there, that is really logical, isn't it? You've got, it's like Second Life. You've got such a vast area of destinations that the groups with common interests that sort of share destinations, all the better.
Another upcoming festival is on Franco Grid, and they're a French language open grid. They're also hypergrid enabled. They're going to have an Avatar Festival on June 6th, 7th, and 8th. And there's a little video I posted a link to, which I don't know if you guys saw.
I think we have some on the Week in Review later. We do actually have a clip about that. I certainly tweeted it anyway.
Yep. Let's see what else. And of course, the closed grids have a huge ton of events. Third Rock Grid, Inworlds, and Virtual Highway are the three big closed grids for musical events. I mean, you can pretty much show up on any night and have several events to choose from, live music, DJs, and so forth. Today, I counted, Inworlds had 17 different events. So there's a lot of stuff happening on those three grids. So if you're interested in the music scene in OpenSim, those are the three grids to check out. But they are closed grids. If you're interested in music on the open grids, the Maritime Club has live music every Sunday at 2 Pacific which is, was it 2 Pacific is what, 5 p.m. Eastern? So just after the show ends. So you can teleport over to OS Grid and you can hit that club.
If I just interrupt a sec, because somebody's just asked me what the link in chat is. I pasted it in before I mentioned it. You know this site, I know. A reasonably new site called the Hyper Gazette.
Yes,
on Virtual Worlds.
I've seen a couple of their stories. Yes.
Yeah. I was actually just going to put. They have destinations really on the hypergrid, and the link I put in is actually from Metropolis and a sim called Wonderland with a U. But anyway, that's what that link is. But just interrupted Maria to promote that. Carry on, Maria.
Right. All right, and I've posted all the grid calendars. I'm glad that more of these calendars are springing up. I would like to see more stuff posted on them because often I'm hearing about events from various other sources, not because they're on the calendar. So somebody needs to pay more attention to stuff like that. Another closed grid event that's happening is the Steam Expo on Tangle Grid, which is a small, tiny little grid, about 80 active users a month, just under 100 regions. So it's one of these small to mid-sized grids that I'm talking about, the 200 grids that are out there that nobody knows about. So Tangle Grid is one of these grids, and they're holding the Steam Expo, and they posted the notice on the OpenSim social groups in Google, on Google Plus, and the response was, well, what's the hypergrid address so we can teleport over? And of course, there is no hypergrid address because the grid is closed.
Oh.
And so what I thought was interesting is that the owner said, we might open up this one region to the hypergrid so people can come and see it. And that, I think, is a very interesting thing because, of course, you can do that with the hypergrid. You can open up just one region. And then that would be like an exhibit to show off the grid to the general public. Because while Tangle Grid might only have 80 users, the hypergrid as a whole has thousands of active users. So still tiny compared to Second Life, but still, but huge compared to the 80 users of Tangle Grid.
Yeah, I was just thinking, if you do the maths, if there's only 80 users, yet there's actually 100 sims, I mean, that's not bad going on the scale they're at so far, is it? I mean, it's more than one sim for each user, so...
Well, the thing is, because the land economy is so different in OpenSim, it means you can have parks, just big parks for people to wander around in. You can throw up a desert area for people to have a role-playing campaign in. That's the size of an actual desert. So you can do things that are impossible in Second Life because of the cost constraints of land. Land is so inexpensive. In OpenSim, really, if you own your own servers, that you can make the land as big as you want. The capacity is really the number of people, the number of prims, a number of scripts on those servers. So if you have low prim land and a low number of visitors on that land, you can have a lot of land. So for this is a wonderful thing for nature, for sailing builds. You can have wide open oceans with islands, scattered in there. Great for flying and railroading, or all sorts of fun stuff you can do. So that's why you can't really look at the size of a grid the same way you would in Second Life. Because the regions have a different cost.
Yeah, exactly, a whole different thing.
Yep.
Okay, I'm just going to check here because we might. I'm sure you got more, but I think we have now been joined by Saffia, and I know she's a bit pressed for time this week, so we might go to the Inworld. Are you there, Saffia?
I am indeed, Matt.
Okay.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you fine. Just before I switch to you, I'm going to paste another link into the back channel chat. I've no doubt it will end up in the channel in a minute, because you may have seen this. Saffia, in the Guardian newspaper, a British newspaper, although I guess it's international on the web, they had an article in the week which is rather interesting. The immersed audience, how theatre is taking its cue from video games. And of course, for those of us interested in theatre and productions and machinima and everything else, that was quite an interesting sort of article. It doesn't specifically relate to machinima, but just the principle that theatre is taking some cues from virtual environments. Very interesting. Anyway, welcome, Saffia. I'm hoping you can give us a progress update. Well, you can tell us first about your Pirates adventure or whatever you're doing, but also, of course, progress with the Second Life birthday builds.
Well, the pirate adventure was quite happenstance, actually. We're shooting on Tuesday. We're shooting a Designing World show in Fancy's Deep, which is going to be about the underworld there and the mermaid colonies that are going on there, which are absolutely fantastic.
Mermen as well, I hope.
Mermen as well, yes.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, just checking.
there's the most brilliant builds. You know Ali, Aley, who does a lot of free stuff on the marketplace. She's done steampunk stuff, she's done pirate stuff, she's done mer stuff as well. And it's all beautifully made and it's all free on the marketplace. The Mad Scientist Lab in Black Mirror, we rigged out using her work.
I think I have been there, actually, come to think of it. Yeah.
And she's just done some wonderful stuff which we're going to be showing on the show, and we're going to be talking to the Safe Waters Foundation, all sorts of things. But I was over there writing the script at Fancy Beebe's memorial, because Fancy's Deep was called after Fancy Beebe, who died last year. And I was sort of sitting there peacefully writing my script, looking around occasionally, as you do. And I looked up, and suddenly the huge bay in front of me was filled with pirate ships. And they were starting to fire at each other. It was just like, so suddenly they'd all come. So I realised the main battle was going to be at noon. So I decided that I would get some film for Elric at that point.
Very good. I can just imagine that, looking at an open ocean, and it's like suddenly a load of battleships teleport in and start firing at each other all at once, like a dream. Yeah.
So anyway, I got some good footage of that for Elric, and then I got a call from the Doctor Who communities. And they're having an event, so they want me to rush over there and do a bit of filming for them, which is where I'm heading to next. This is why I've turned up, hopefully looking something like Purdy, which is my current Doctor Who persona.
Oh, very good. Yes, I remember Purdy. Joanna, in fact.
Yes.
Better known as, yes, good old Purdy, yeah.
But, yes, in between all that, I've also been spending quite a bit of time, obviously making films for and at SL11B, which is now taking shape. It opened to exhibitors on Friday, and
I read that it's open to press as well. Believe it or not, I haven't actually applied for one this year. I was too bogged down with stuff, and I got so much criticism last year. I wasn't sure whether Greg Crap Mariner and Will Burns, because both wanted to take over my build this year. But since I couldn't get hold of coordinate that, I just thought, well, I'll pass through a year and concentrate on trying to help film or something. I must try and get a press pass off you. I'd like to go over and see how it's panning out, as it were, in the build process.
At the moment, it's not really open for press. What it's open to is the press team. So basically people who volunteered to help with the press day and organise things have come in early and are working on that.
Okay, I've seen. It's funny. I was looking at my friends list in World earlier, and I sort of see all the usual suspects who I haven't seen online for ages.
Yes, I know.
Diana Lenoir, Doc Gascoigne. Oh, I know what they're doing.
Yes, it's all pretty crazy over there at the moment. Things are just starting to go up, and it's quite exciting. I mean, it's always an exciting time. Prim Perfect, we're doing a build this year around the Second Life retention program that we did. Yeah. So we're going to be looking at ways in which people can grow and build communities in Second Life. In our exhibit, that's what we're going to be focusing on.
And I presume you'll be doing the talk series as in previous years, yeah. Which those are things I think we'd like to get filmed. If you haven't got other plans.
No, I haven't. I would be thrilled if you could come in and film some of those, and I'll give you details of them. We'll be having the usual things that we'll be having: artist talks, designer talks, and community talks. And there are other events going on, which are great as well.
Now, we've been running the Madman series. I think it was number 11 popped up just this morning, telling people how to behave on their patches.
Because fast, yes.
Sorry, I can't get over that, you know. So at first it's sort of all volunteer now and do this, that and that. And then suddenly we get one saying, well, now I'm here to tell you how to behave. Yeah. but yeah, it's all part of the same thing.
I hope you've been enjoying them.
Yeah, they're not as I thought they were going to be firing at me daily for a while, but they're not actually that frequent. But they have, what are they, about 2 a week or something like that?
There are only 11 of them now, you know, 11 or 12. He wants more.
Well, I also, I mean, we have, I think last time you were on this show, I mentioned this, Saffia, but of course, the near Victoria thing, I was quite getting into because there was this daily bulletin, and, you know,
yes.
I am, Saffia, with the daily news.
Yes.
And full force production there.
Yes, but the near Victoria people really planned it. They were really good at doing that. And there was some exciting stuff with the role play at Fantasy Fair, and I think we're going to do more of that next year. Things like having another murder mystery, which people can solve over the course of the fair. The conclusion of that one was so funny, because people just gathered for the final event where they had a chance to question the 3 main suspects, and they could vote by paying lindens into Relay for Life kiosks on who they believed to be guilty. And the plan was that whoever they found guilty would, at the end, be carted off to prison. That would be who they had voted to be guilty. It didn't matter whether the person actually turned out to be guilty or innocent. They would go to prison because they'd been voted for, which I thought was a very interesting take.
An interesting way of doing it, yeah.
Isn't that the way it always is? That's the way it is. No, I'm kidding.
I love the murder mystery thing. You know, I want a Hercule Poirot avatar, and I think Tara should get a Miss Marple one. You know, we wonder about in character solving this.
It should be Miss Lemon, at least.
Miss Lemon? Well, yes, actually, she is cute, I suppose. Yeah, in a way. Yeah, I don't know. I love those things. Can't get enough of the old drama and murder.
Miss Lemon?
Miss
Are
Lemon.
you kidding?
Miss Lemon's Poirot's sidekick.
Poirot's, that's his secretary. I'm sorry.
Does she wear tight sweaters too?
No, well, she's very, very 30s. So she's definitely she bends and scrapes, and she does all these.
Yeah, that won't do for you, Tara. Sorry.
We all know that Miss Lemon is really, the brains.
Intrinsic, yeah.
The practical one of the outfit.
Yeah. Keeps the mind of Poirot together.
Keeps it focused. Maybe not on the right thing, but focused.
Yeah. But that's quite good. I read during the week, there's a philanthropist in, I think it's New York or in the States somewhere, who's opened a Twitter account, and it's just there's a similar thing going on in London. and they're twittering clues to the whereabouts of like £50, £100 stashes of money. And they've got masses of followers, you know, overnight, as you would expect. Basically. And people all around London are going hunting, you know, following these sort of discreet clues, trying to find the location where they'll get a free envelope with £50 in it or something, which is good, you know, active detection thing. You know, I know it's not murder mystery, but it was a similar sort of thing, you know, going hunting and trying to find the RL money. Sounds great. I haven't possibly got time for that, but you know, it sounds great, you know, having people wandering around all over London searching for clues and trying to find the money on a daily basis.
I must say, I'm sitting here envying Tara's outfit. That's gorgeous.
It is. It's really pretty.
Purple.
You weren't here last week, but the two of them, well, not Maria, thank you, Maria, but
I was late. I would have.
Petlove and Tara both changed costumes at the last minute before we went on air in their effort to mimic my costume. It's some kind of statement about the fact I never changed.
We got the costume.
We tried.
But you can see it just rolled right off his back, you know. We love your outfit though, Mal. We really do. It's so much a part of you. It's like a trademark now.
It is. It's a trademark.
I think it's welded to his skin by now.
Well, it's got to be, yeah.
No, it did come off 3 weeks ago to go to the dry cleaners, and I temporarily wore another costume, if you remember.
And it's amazing it actually came back in one piece.
Indeed it is,
Do you remember Mal's hair, though? I mean, for years.
Yes, he was noob hair forever.
I've seen some of those old pictures. I thought it was a mistake. You know, just one of those times you get snapped when you're really not fully dressed or whatever.
It took him a long time to get him, pry him loose from
Aww.
the system.
I've said this before, and I'll say it again. But when I first came to Second Life, you know, I went with some default avatar with red hair and whatever, and I actually, all cartoony though it was, I actually thought it represented me quite well. It wasn't just suffering I didn't just randomly pick it. I stretched it to its length and stuff like that. But yeah, I admit, finding prim hair took me a few years. And, you know,
I understand,
even then it looked rather electric. But slowly but surely, I've morphed into the wretched creature that I am now.
Saffia and Pet, I was going to comment that the starter point for this current outfit was 60 Linden last weekend, special at Purple Moon on the pants. Mm-hmm. Which just in 3 different colors, 2 of which I bought. Mm-hmm. And the top they had with it just wasn't me remotely. So I teamed it up with a top from Cold Logic, plus a tank underneath, so that for benefit of the show, so I wasn't showing quite so much cleavage.
Yeah, thank God for T-shirts.
It's a great combination.
Mm-hmm.
I think we need to send you lot over to fashion shows on Metal One.
Well, no, what you should do is watch Happy Hunting and do some of the hunts, because you don't have to pay full price. Zanchi just had a terrific Easter egg hunt. I think I got 10 beautiful gowns. I can't wait to wear them.
Yeah. Yeah, hunts, well, we're always going on about that, aren't they? Hunts are a wonderful way to be introduced to Second Life, and especially to get things when you've got no money. All you've got to do is work at it.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
Which is fun in itself, you know, new destinations, find new places and everything else while you're at it.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Meet people. Mm-hmm.
Now, talking of events, we actually mentioned this before you joined us, Saffia, but of course, Fashion for Life is coming up.
Yes.
And indeed, there's, in fact, you did, I promoted it the other day, but I noticed you had a post this morning about it. We've got the science fiction convention on. And, what was the other thing? Those two.
There's a Hope Ball today.
That's the
I can wear my gown, yay.
Yeah, you can wear one of the gowns you got.
There we go.
It's, I think it's after this show.
It's, 1:30, I think it actually starts,
For Relay for Life again, yes.
So we're getting off early today? Just kidding.
We'll see how it goes.
I was going to say, while I'm here, I might as well tell you about Monday's Designing Worlds.
Oh, yeah.
Because I think you'll find that quite interesting. We're not going to a place this week. We're going to look at a thing, really. Well, we do go to a place, but what we're looking at is the Firestorm viewer.
Ah, yes.
And and we're looking at how they do support, how they do education about it. I think you'll be quite surprised by some of the things that come out. I mean, there's the history of how it got to Firestorm from Emerald, and Jessica Lyon talks very candidly about the early days.
I was wondering whether I have her on this show at some point just to hear her. I'd say, yeah, it's a familiar history to me because A, I use Firestorm, but B, I go remember the Phoenix and, I remember the whole drama back in the roots of things. So, yeah, it's quite a lot of history to tell there, I should think. And a great viewer too,
Yes, and it's really interesting. She gives us an insight into just how many people are using Firestorm.
Something else that actually happened in the week, which I will mention because we didn't know about it in advance last week. But I actually logged in. I'm logged into the Second Life a lot more frequently now because I've just got the habit of opening it in the morning like Skype using the Radagast viewer, which of course is text only. So my avatar's not in the virtual environment, but I get messages and can find people. And Radagast actually came in, I think it was on Friday, and had a discussion of virtual ability about its use for not so abled persons. Because of course, even though it doesn't have the virtual environment, but it has voice, you can call people in it and things. And for somebody, for example, who can't see the environment, it's as good as any other viewer in many ways.
What's that called again, Mel?
It's the Radagast. It's a desktop viewer, and they were in World talking with Gentle about it. So I missed it, but it was great to see that it was happening. So yeah, Fashion for Life. Do you know much about that, Saffia?
Nope.
No,
not at all.
Oh,
yeah.
Right. I believe that starts in about a week, so it's one of these other great events, that follows Fantasy Fair and is, in great build-up to the climax weekend, which won't be too far away now. As soon as the birthday's over, we'll probably be on top of it.
Yep, that's
maybe
true.
Maybe we can get Nikki to come on next week and talk about it. What are the dates for it?
July 19th and 20th.
19th.
Oh, yeah, plenty of time.
Yeah, but it's only 6 weeks. So I always remember it comes very soon after the birthday celebration. So, but we'll
yes, I remember that too.
Yeah, we'll definitely get somebody on for that. In fact, I think we had Xander on a couple of weeks ago, of course, and he was sort of chatting about it. Yeah, actually, Xander's in a funny position this year. I don't know whether you saw that program, but of course he's not actively involved because of RL considerations. So he's thoroughly enjoying himself being a participant. He's actually jumping up and down and saying, "I've never been a participant before." This is all cool stuff. He loved the Fantasy Fair, which apparently he'd put behind the scenes on before, but never really seen as an involved character. So. Nice is being able to get a fresh view on things, I think, actually. Right, anything else particular to yourself happening in World or whatever?
I don't think so. I think that's quite enough. Birthday, filming, designing worlds, yes.
So we have Firestorm tomorrow, and presumably the great pirate battle will be the week after.
No, it's the week after that, actually. The week after is going to be a couple of Finnish designers who are doing some really interesting educational projects in Second Life.
Oh, great.
Including sort of biochemistry labs and stuff like that. And it's really, they've done some very cool things. So we're going to go and take a look at that.
And I'm still I know this is already up, but I haven't had time to watch it yet. But the Chinese art fair was awesome, wasn't it? I still get on my pending thing to fire up on the TV and actually watch the darn thing.
Yes, that was a great show. We all rode on the hedge pillar and discussed art as we were riding on a giant privet hedge caterpillar.
Only in Raglan.
Yeah, and of course Petlove still hasn't recovered, as you can see.
Well, actually, I'm here because I participated. I didn't participate. I filmed or streamed. I filmed and streamed giant snail races yesterday, which covered all 5 of the Raglan Sims. And Racer X Gullwing will do the edit on that and have that film out soon. He makes great films. He's got a website on YouTube, and it's worth checking out. It was really funny. They were great.
We're actually running snail races every week on Metal World 1 now, so
great. There it is. Then you've got a website too. Yes.
We'll have it. Yes, indeed.
It's a thing. Snail races.
Oh, yeah, you haven't lived. You haven't lived.
This is one of the original sort of hilarious sort of things back from the days of Treat TV. They did fashion and they had metanomics and things, but they also had this long-running thing. I mean, it's gone on. It's probably as nearly as old as Designing Worlds.
It's 10 years this year. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Races predate Treat.
They just
film them when they're
actually giant. They're giant snails. I mean, there's some really farcical ones where you got snails that are bigger than the roads they're meant to be racing on, or bigger than buildings they pass. And being snails, of course, they just go along at a chug sort of rate.
They're just gorgeous.
It's ideally suited to Second Life lag. It's a celebration of lag. Get these big snails.
I had a frame rate of 4 yesterday. Yeah, like you want 20 to 100.
It's one of those sort of little amusing things in Second Life. I mean, even if you haven't got time for virtual wrestling and virtual football and the calamities you get there is something intriguing about the giant snails. They're kind of the opposite of the tinies, really. They're big and cumbersome, whereas the tinies are jumping up and down having fun.
And then every year at Relay for Life, Racer builds a fiendishly complex track. And they have tiny giant snail races.
Yeah, it's
basically
great.
When we're doing the telethon, everything stops, so we film the tiny giant snail race.
Right.
Yeah, they're awesome.
They are great.
Yeah, so good stuff.
Okay,
you're going to make a discreet vanish, aren't you?
I'm going to make a discreet vanish.
Extremely.
It's lovely to see you.
You've dried off after all that being. Presumably, you got hurled you got splashed immensely by.
Yes.
And you didn't have to walk the plank.
I didn't have to walk the plank. No, I actually stayed securely on land and just sent my camera out.
Actually, I do have some question. I wasn't thinking earlier. What is the connection between Purdy and Doctor Who?
Okay.
Inquiring minds want to know.
one of the Time Lords, Ulan Sputnik, who is a very old friend of mine, and who is head of the house that I belong to in the Doctor Who New Gallifrey community, has just regenerated into essentially Patrick McNee playing Steed.
And
Hey.
To his regular long-term companion in
the Avengers,
Doctor Who,
has
therefore become Mrs. Peel.
Right.
And I said, well, if I was going to hang out with them, I should become Purdy. So I have become Purdy. And now I'm just on the lookout for my gambit.
So this is going to be rather interesting. This is probably going to be a heated battle as to whether it's you or Emma who are the psychic.
Emma has priority, but
yes, she predates. Yeah, she predates Purdy, doesn't she? So. Yeah. Oh, great. Okay, you have to get Joanna to tune in and see what she thinks.
Okay.
Okay, well, I'll get Petlove to discreetly move the camera so we can't see you as you vanish, as you vanish, I should say. But thanks for joining us.
Okay,
and bringing
it's
us
been
up
great
to date.
fun.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye for now. Okay, now I think we sort of still had a few things to cover with you, Maria, didn't we? At the point where we took our
She spit
break.
her coffee out. Oh my.
Me? What? All right. Well, I have. Let's see. What were we up to? Did you mention the Oculus and the Samsung team up? Yeah, you did. First thing when we started out.
At the beginning. Yeah, because a week ago we thought they were in competition. Now they're now they're collaborating apparently. Although
and we got some more news about what the headset's going to look like from Engadget, who apparently talked to people close to the development. It's going to be a frame for the cell phone. So the good thing is you're not going to have to buy a separate whole device. The Samsung frame is going to be a lot more inexpensive because you don't have to buy all the computer guts. It's just a shell and the lenses. The power is going to be in the software. And the software is what Oculus is going to be working on them with, which is an excellent thing because it means compatibility across these devices. And now Samsung, I don't know if you've heard of them, but they're a really major player in the cell phone industry. So if they're going in a particular direction, in a sort of an Oculus-aligned direction, it's a easy jump to assume that everybody else is going to fall into line in order to be compatible with everything else, which is an excellent development for. You don't want things breaking up into multiple incompatible approaches that have people fighting over themselves, and nobody will know which one to buy because which one's going to be the Betamax and which one's going to be the VHS, and developers are going to have to develop for multiple platforms, and so it turns into a mess. So this is a very good sign. And
it's interesting.
In return, go ahead.
No, I was just going, while we're on Samsung, it's actually interesting. I forget the name, but they're actually including in this, because they're technological giants and they're very big on TVs and players and stuff. So you can sort of see the connection there. And interestingly, they announced during the week that I think it's about a month's time, all their smart TVs are actually moving to, I forget the name of it, but it's a new operating system, basically. Totally different from the one they incorporate at the moment with the little widgets. So it does sound like when it comes to software and intelligent machines, they're obviously working with their phones, but possibly television too. So they may have an interest in 3D watching of television, basically.
Well, I don't know how well that's going to work out for them because they still haven't taken off. But the TV angle, the movie watching angle, comes into play with these headsets because initially one of the first killer apps for the cell phone headsets is to watch movies, because even with a regular standard movie, when you normally you watch it like an arm's length away from you, or maybe right in your face if you're in bed under the covers. But it's a tiny little screen. When you put this thing in the headset, it looks like you're in a movie theater with a giant screen in front of you.
Yeah.
So it's a really different kind of experience of watching a movie in this 3D headset. Even a regular old 2D movie becomes this giant screen floating. You feel like you're sitting in a movie theater in front of a giant screen.
A bit like the IMAX experience, isn't it? Yeah. Exactly.
So you've got the biggest screen the movie theater had, and you've got the front row seat, or the middle seat, 10 rows back, the good seat. So, and because it's so easy to do an app for this, all you do is you have the two eyeball view. So you have the stereoscopic view. Very easy to do this. There's already apps out there that will turn a movie into this kind of view. So since there's tons of movies out there, we have already a library of content that people can enjoy with these devices on the first day. Even before any games are written, you can already get a value out of this device. And for something that's so inexpensive, that you can carry with you. The cell phone has a battery in it. You just drop it into the headset, and you've got your little private movie. If you're on a long plane trip, if you're on a train, if you're just sitting by yourself in your basement, I don't know. It goes back to what you were saying about the asocial aspects of it.
I wonder if that's compatible with virtual worlds too. I mean, obviously down the line you can say, yeah, well, if it was for film, it would work for virtual world. But we already see these videos that people have been filming of Oculus, and it's like the two separate windows, although there are ways of filming it as one. I presume these glasses will be able to interpret that double screen effect as well as a normal screen.
In fact, you can try it out right now. Play one of these videos on your cell phone, hold the cell phone out in front of your eyes, and then like cross your eyes, like the magic picture kind of thing.
Oh, yeah.
And it will spring into 3D.
Yeah, that's true.
So it works a lot better if you have a headset and lenses that do this for you. But if you have like clever eyeballs and can do it, I have never been able to see a magic picture.
I've seen it once or twice, but it's a real strain on my head, I'm afraid.
Yes, but you can do that. You can hold it out in front of your head, and you can do this right now. So yes, that is definitely video playthroughs are something you can watch. The Twitch kind of thing with 3D games. So that should be an interesting aspect of it as well, and also creates a large amount of content that's already ready to go.
Talking of which, actually, what's your take on the YouTube or Google ultimately have now bought Twitch, and it has very little virtual environment stuff in Twitch, but it has hundreds and thousands of games. I mean, not games to play, but people just broadcasting from games, showing their gameplay and stuff, which it strikes me as rather boring because it's all scripted, but it's been a very big success. I'm wondering, I wonder if YouTube just see it as a useful property to include, or whether they've got other plans for it.
Well, yeah, they're showing videos, why wouldn't YouTube buy it up? It's videos. And YouTube is already big with some, there's already some channels on YouTube that show video reviews and video playthroughs that are extremely popular. So I guess it kind of makes sense. Personally, I don't really understand it. I mean, I can see watching a review like that. What's his name? There's a bunch of people doing Oculus Rift reviews of games where they show you what it's like to play with the Oculus Rift, and I've watched a bunch of them. But you don't watch the whole game. You don't watch somebody playing a whole game. You just watch a few scenes where they show what's it like. So it's kind of weird for me to watch somebody else play.
I have seen things on Twitch, and they just go on for hours and hours, and I wonder. Well, I'm not. It's just you're not really involved if you're just watching some guy.
But I do have to say, when I was a kid, I used to prefer watching my brothers play video games than play them myself. Because it was interesting to see. It's like watching a movie. Is he going to do it, or is he going to die?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I agree with that.
You can probably guess which one I was rooting for.
I've never played a computer game in my life that where I didn't actually die in the first panel, so to speak. I mean, I could never react fast enough. But Myst and things like that were a whole different ball game. But anything with shooting in it, I'm dead before the scene's moved. So yes, I've got to admit, I would obviously be safer watching in that instance, but whether I'd still want to watch is another matter.
Another interesting aspect of virtual reality that might help accelerate it is out-of-home virtual reality. And I had a guest tutorial from an expert on out-of-home entertainment, which I didn't even know existed. But this is arcades, this is malls, this is stores, this is Chuck E. Cheese and all these places, and amusement parks, and all the places where video games are played outside of the house. That since these arcades could spend quite a bit of more money on a game, that this is a way for people to try out virtual reality without having to buy it themselves. kind of what the video game arcades did for video games back in the old days, when the games were rare and unusual and the machines were big and expensive, so everybody went to the arcade to play them. And then we got consoles and everyone came home again. With virtual reality, this could actually be something you would go out. And it's kind of a social thing, because the way they have this set up in most cases is that there's a screen you can watch to see what the player is doing. So all your friends could be standing around you, watching you as you go through this world, and you yourself are actually in that world, so it feels like you're really there, and your friends can all laugh at you while you scream and wet your pants. So this is a fun social experience.
It's funny, I showed on the Inworld News last week, I dug up a clip which is from 1991, and it was about virtuality then, and it was strange indeed, because some things haven't changed. They had their helmet and things, and back in the late 70s, I suppose, I remember there was an entertainment centre in the centre of London here, and they had a virtuality ride, and you literally wore a helmet that looks like Oculus Rift does now, and primitive graphics in those days, but, they took you on a sort of virtuality ride, and obviously, just as there's aspects of the Oculus that are almost retro, so indeed, the arcade places, the arcade game places may make a sort of comeback, especially with the more expensive tech. And I ran, I'll just plug this while we're talking. I've run the clip that you'll find on this link already on Inworld News, but it is courtesy of Road to VR. Let me just stick it in there. And it's talking about something called Infinideck, which is a £1,000 omnidirectional treadmill designed and built by one man. And I've always sort of envisaged a holodeck, and having sensors up on the corners of my room and things that are synchronized together and things like that, and virtual reality on the walls of a holodeck. And I thought, well, we have the technology to build it already. The only mechanics we don't really have are the floor. Because, if you walk in a virtual environment like you walk in real life, you'll eventually hit a wall and damage your nose or something. So I thought, how would the floor move? But looking at this thing somebody's literally built for themselves, it seems they got the answer. It's multi-directional. You walk on it, but it restabilizes and sort of keeps you on the spot, so to speak. Imagining walking on something like this platform whilst wearing an Oculus Rift and with some decent headphones and everything else, all the bits sort of kind of seem to be coming together here. And obviously, it's going to be a long while before people's houses are built with holodeck rooms in them. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to being out and about in places like the arcade centres and stuff, you could easily see them coughing up the money to make, little baby rooms and things that actually provide this function for people who put them coins in the machine.
Exactly. Now, for the floors, the moving floors, the big leader right now is something called Virtuix Omni.
Oh, yeah.
And their omnidirectional treadmill that doesn't move. It's a slippery ridge surface. So it's like the kind of like a frisbee kind of shape that you stand on the inside and you slide down the sides of it as you run. And so you can run in all directions, and you can turn around and twist and do all kinds of movements except sitting down because it doesn't have a chair. That's the Virtuix Omni had a successful Kickstarter, and they have been out at all the big virtual reality trade shows and exhibitions, and they've been really popular. A lot of their videos are up online. If you Google the Omni treadmill and the Oculus Rift, they're perfect together. In fact, I don't think I've ever seen a single video of the Omni that didn't have a guy wearing the Oculus Rift headset. So it's very realistic. It's already out there right now. It has no moving parts, so it's very stable and solid. And you can already buy it. It costs around, I believe, $500 or so. So expensive for a home, but definitely, like you were saying, for arcades, perfect fit. So the other advantage of arcades that he brought up that I wasn't even thinking about is that in an arcade, these games are designed to be short, so they can move a lot of people through them. So they typically last a few minutes, which is perfect for virtual reality because it means people don't have time to get motion sickness. So you get used to this virtual reality a few minutes at a time, and then somebody else has a go, you know. And I thought that was a really interesting factor because it can let a large population of people get used to it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the other way of viewing that is that, you know, sort of people who would never even think of installing it or involving themselves with it at home might be, you know, captivated by it when they see it out and sort of start exploring it a bit more in their home environment.
Exactly. They'll walk past it in the mall. They'll see the people laughing and having fun. They'll stop by and try it out themselves. They'll go, oh, wow, this is really cool. And then eventually when the prices come down, they might, and the equipment gets a little easier to use, they'll be familiar with it, and they won't be as anxious about using it at home. Now, I forgot to mention something about the Samsung headset, which I thought was really, really cute about using it at home. You know when I mentioned that you're sitting in your basement with this thing on all alone, all by yourself, cut off from the world around you. The Samsung camera has the Samsung cell phone has a camera on the back, so it actually has a way. It has a built-in camera to see, so you can see what's going on around you. So if you want to, you can always switch to an outside view or get a preview of a part of the world, or if somebody's moving around in front of you or something like that, it can automatically pause your game and show you the world so that you're not totally cut off from everybody.
Good point.
So I thought that was really interesting. And also, of course, you can get augmented reality applications. You put this on, and then you see the world around you, and you can see zombies rushing out from behind buildings, you know. And you mentioned walking into walls. This is one of the more interesting ideas I've seen for virtual reality, is once you've got that camera, you can play a game in your house with your actual walls, your actual furniture. And all the obstacles that are in there in your house are now in the game, so you're not going to trip over them. And you're fighting monsters from room to room, or, you know, all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
Or you know, or dirty stuff.
Yeah, damn sight cheaper than conjuring a virtual environment. Just interpret your own.
Exactly. So all sorts of interesting things become possible.
Does this mean I have to reproduce my dust bunnies and piles of crud?
Well, if the camera can see them, yes.
The camera scans them. The camera just scans them.
Oh, scary! Oh, that's very scary.
The camera. Well, I don't think you're gonna trip over the dust bunnies, so they'll probably skip the dust bunnies and just go for the big shapes that are in the way, the walls and the furniture.
Yeah.
That thing, it would just get worn out too quickly, wouldn't it? No, I'm only kidding.
So that's, I thought that was really interesting, and it could be a very social way to play a game as well, because you can see the other people in the environment as well, because you have the camera passing through. It doesn't even have to recreate it in the game. It'll show you the picture of the actual video of your room with the virtual world overlay on top of it. So yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun. So all sorts of creative stuff is coming out right now. Very exciting. I love watching this. It's really cool. All right. So we talked about out of home VR. On a personal note, Hypergrid Business turned 5 this spring.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. And I looked at the numbers for our traffic, and we had our record month this past month for Hypergrid Business readers. Normally, we see between 12 and 15,000 unique people a month reading our articles. And this month, it was within a stone's throw of 20,000, 19,500 something people came and read stories about virtual reality. About half of them were like regular readers, and half of them were new people.
Yay!
So very
great.
Good.
very exciting. So I'm very pleased about that. It's been growing for last couple of months, well, a little zigzag, and so I'm very excited about that. I don't know if it's the show, or if it's the site redesign, or the whole Oculus thing, but something's working. So thank you, Mel.
I suspect there's such a big interest, however it goes, in VR now. Because of Oculus and stuff like that. So, I see, I find people, popping up all over the place, starting VR sites and things, sort of every blogger who's got a fanciful interest in it is starting a blog, on the subject. Some more prominent than others, but, it's the current thing. I'd actually be rather interested to see where the likes of Oculus stand on the old Gartner hype cycle. How we're
on an up ramp towards the hype.
Hype. Yes, it's definitely on the hype, on the uphill, on
the
headed towards its ultimate level of high hypeness before it collapses.
It's heading towards high hypeness. Yes,
until it gets into its plateau or whatever. I love all that.
Then there's
First there's the hype, then the trough of disillusionment, then the plateau of productivity.
It's a long way from the plateau.
Years and
we
years
haven't hit
away
the
from
peak
there.
of the hype cycle yet. It's still.
Hey, we've barely hit the plateau of productivity with the web, and that's 20 years old.
Now,
25.
something else that came up this week actually is my lovely little Leap Motion. They very shortly, the drivers for Leap Motion are going to be updated, and they've released a new APK thing for developers, and there's already some videos online that instead of the Leap Motion at the moment senses my fingers and from a certain distance, and I can have these dots representing the end of my fingers on screen and do various things, and with a bit of practice you can do this and that, although usually the only time I use it is to flip the screen left and right and up and down. But I've got them on MetaWorld News, but there's various demo videos of the new system in action, and this isn't a new model of Leap Motion. This is simply improved software to run it. But it seems to actually mean that Leap Motion can now detect a slightly greater difference, including things that are actually technically out of its sensor range, and it can also display on screen your whole hand like a physical object, as opposed to skeletons. And there's some wonderful demos of people, literally interacting in 3D space, with the new drivers to literally pick up an object and move it on the screen to a new position, in a way that feels like you're in a 3D environment. So I was quite keen on this because the Leap Motion in the face of Oculus and things like that has sort of slithered out of the highlights a bit. But clearly it's had a lot of take up, and it may not have the biggest publicity machine, but they are clearly developing in leaps and bounds. Excuse the pun or whatever that's called.
All right. So I guess the only other thing I had was the ZeniMax switching their hosting offerings, but I don't know if people actually really care about that. They're going from 3 types of grids to just 2.
Yeah, then they're giving up mini grids.
Mini grids, yes.
Yeah.
Was
it from ZeniMax we were going to have somebody on today who didn't make it, or was that?
I was gonna try to invite somebody from Zandramas, which is
the other.
Who are a customer of ZeniMax, to talk to us about what it's like to run a grid, and they were this person I wanted to talk to is both a customer of ZeniMax and a customer of Everyworld, and kind of a nice person who to have on a show, but unfortunately she was out this weekend. So
Well, feel free to invite her back next week. Or
Well, I just did, so.
great. Yeah, great stuff.
Yep.
Right, I had one more link. I did mention when Saffia came on the piece in The Guardian about video games influencing theatre. There's another link here which is slightly different, a site called Spectrum. Digital actors go beyond the uncanny valley. And it's talking about computer-generated humans in movies and video games, paving the way for new forms of entertainment. So, you know, talking about the hype, you know, these articles are just appearing everywhere, sort of speculating as to what might happen. But yeah, a very interesting read there, indeed.
If you are a movie director looking to license my face for your movie,
yes.
you know where to reach me.
Yeah, and the same here. And I've got another version which is an organic version too, which can be digitized. Well, it has been digitized, but not in this world. I actually have I have a full body scan file.
Oh, jeez!
In that outfit, Mel?
No, I went to a trade. I went to a trade convention, and they're offering body scans. So you get
is it expensive?
You get your kiss off. You go in this booth. Well, it's free.
It's free, really?
Yeah, basically, I have my whole real life body as a mesh now.
Awesome.
So if I ever get around to making the skins and whatever and combine it and convert the
what
file.
does it cost to copyright, or what did you just say?
It's a little rough, based on what it imported as I recall, Mal. It has been a few years. I'm sure the technology for doing that is much improved.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the only thing it couldn't scan properly were my hands, because my hands were the only thing that was attached to anything during the scan process. Otherwise I was standing there gripping. My hands were gripping this thing I had to hold, and basically the scan went round my body. It even got my feet from the floor, but for some reason my hands looked like sort of elf hands that filter out into long strands, which is quite interesting. But it's actually very hard to actually judge it, because I thought it looked a bit podgy. I thought, that's not me, but the chances are it was. Well, actually it was. But until you actually wrap it, put a texture on it, or even a flat texture as opposed to a skin, and start examining it, you don't, it is just a skeleton, but it's quite interesting. But yes, faces are copyright by nature. If somebody takes a photograph of you and blows up your face or whatever and sells it as a poster, they're not allowed to do so without paying you royalties, because you have copyright in your own face.
What does that cost, I'm curious.
Copyright really doesn't cost anything. You actually simply have to have proof of ownership. And if somebody looks at your face and and looks at a poster somebody's marketing of you, then it's a slam dunk. You don't really have to prove much, because you're standing there proving it. I mean, the standard procedure for copyright is you simply what I do with writing and stuff is I simply put a manuscript before it goes anywhere in an envelope, and I seal it up, and I post it back to myself, and as at the moment I get it back, I don't ever open it, but the postal mark on it coming back to me serves as proof of copyright.
Cool. That's interesting.
If you want to register copyright, there is a fee for that. I am not sure what it is currently, because I haven't done one for quite some time.
Actually, technically, if somebody takes a picture of you, the photographer owns the copyright of the picture, because the copyright is created at the moment of creation. If you go into a store and you have a photographer take a picture of you in a studio, and then you want to do something else with that photograph, you have to pay the photographer for it. It doesn't go the other way. Now, you're talking about endorsement issues, where if I take a picture of a person and use it to endorse a brand or some kind of commercial use, then I have to pay that person for it. But if, say, somebody is stalking Angelina Jolie down the street and takes her picture and sells it to a newspaper, the money goes to the photographer, not to Angelina Jolie. You do not actually have a copyright in your face. And in fact, plenty of people who look like famous celebrities or who get plastic surgery to look like famous celebrities do a very good, business impersonating them at parties. And it's perfectly legal. You can't use somebody's likeness for commercial purposes because you are implying that they're supporting your brand, and that's an endorsement issue, which is a very different category of law than copyright. So as the journalist, I can go out and take random pictures of people in the street and then put them in a newspaper and run them. And in fact, I used to do this for a living. But if I photograph them for a calendar or for a commercial, I have to get them to sign off on permission slip.
Yeah, and there's also a difference. There's a difference between the arrangements for images taken in public places and in private. That comes into the equation too.
That's a privacy violation. But again, different in places, different rules. In the United States, if you can get a telecamera up, you can do
I remember when this was back in the 70s when I was, I had a group of artists, mostly comic strip artists, but also some painters, and we were producing prints, mini posters of rock and roll personalities, pop stars and things of the day, and a wonderful oil painter did one of a wonderful punk musician called Susie Sue, and we had permission from her record company to, I forget where we paid a royalty, but basically to do the Susie Sue print. And the painter had done this wonderful job. But what we didn't know, and what he didn't tell us until we'd actually printed the thing and got it out, was that his painting was a sort of photorealistic artwork that had actually been taken from a composite of principally one photo by a well-known music photographer. And we ended up, the copyright in the painting belonged to the painter, the trademark in Susie Sue belonged to her, and but the composition that was ultimately painted was so close to this photograph that we had to pay the photographer too.
It's called a derivative work.
Yeah.
It's like making a rap music and involving other music as part of it.
Sampling, yeah.
Now, if he had made it a parody of that original photograph, then you're in free and clear.
You're safe,
Like if you do a cartoon parody of Barack Obama, nobody will stop you from doing anything you want with it. Unless you're living in a very restrictive country and you make a parody of their leader, in which case you end up in prison for your whole life.
Yeah.
So the joy of living in the West.
Wow.
So you mentioned Bitcoin earlier today.
I didn't, but carry on.
You did. This organization, Immersive Education.
I did.
You mentioned this.
Okay. Yes, of course.
It's taken Bitcoin, and I believe, Mel, you mentioned that it's a good thing they're promoting virtual currency, and it's a good fit. I was a little confused about this announcement. I mean, I ran it anyway because it's related to virtual worlds. Why not? And it's a plug for their conference, which is probably why they issued the press release, because Bitcoin's in the news, and it's an opportunity for them to get a little bit of publicity for their upcoming conference. So I don't begrudge them that, but there's really no particular natural connection between Bitcoin and virtual education, no more than there is between, say, PayPal and virtual education, or between direct bank transfers versus ACH, the automatic clearinghouse that takes your payments when you pay by electronic check, or FedWire, which is the wire transfer mechanism. These are all virtual, movements of money.
Yeah, I think it's probably just a gimmick to get attention to the conference, because they, I know they did have some kind of virtual presence originally, and I tweet now and again their PR sheets that come out from their site, but I think I really don't know much about that conference anymore. I think it's on the web. I don't think it's really virtual in the sense we would call virtual. I think it's more down to the not a Hangout or maybe Adobe Connect or something, but it's very specific to education, and I think it covers a pretty wide berth rather than the sort of virtuality we consider. But
they used to have some open sim grids. I talked to Aaron Walsh, the guy who runs it, a few years back, and it didn't. It never really became this big public force in virtual worlds. So, like the way I was hoping it would, because it's in Boston, which is close by, and they're focusing on the conference and the more academic side of it, maybe. But the conference itself is a good thing. It's in Los Angeles. They've got some big names speaking. So, if I was in California, I would try to go. So if somebody wants to send me to California, I'll take Bitcoin.
Okay, you kind of spare Bitcoin, send them this way to Maria and she'll come and turn up. Might even give you a good report.
Yep.
Yeah, good point.
So we have a few minutes left. If you guys want me to talk about the difference between mini grids and full grids, I can do that, or we can go on to something else.
I think we'll leave that till we got a guest who can go into that. I've got. I'm going to post the link over here again because I mentioned it earlier, and I suddenly realised we didn't give you a link. This is a link which has more links in it, but that is a poster on the science fiction convention that's just opened in Second Life. So if you want more about that, and I did. I don't know whether I actually mentioned when I announced it, but that is yet another Relay for Life event. The proceeds from the event will go to Relay for Life. It's not organised by Relay for Life, but in a good cause, whether you're into science fiction or not. I must say the pictures on that blog post are all very nice, as they do, and it's got links to each of the 6 sims that are actually part of the convention, so to speak.
And I understand that OS Grid is represented at this event. OS Grid has the Lonnie science fiction community, which is based on the Dune Desert Planet role-playing.
Oh, Frank Herbert's job, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So it should be interesting for us open simmers as well.
Pity there's not a gateway between the two, but never mind.
There will be. I am an eternal optimist. I believe that someday all the virtual worlds should be linked and we shall travel between them.
I know. We'll just have to chip away slowly but surely at the wall that is Linden Lab and make a little portal and pop through it. And then a bigger portal and pop through it. And so until they realise that their wall garden's got a hole in it. Sorry. Yes, we dream. It will. Yeah, I'm sure it will come one day in one form or another. We'll have to see. Right, let me just flip over here. K0 had a couple. We had brands in virtual worlds up at SlideShare during the week. He's actually churning out quite a lot of stuff at the moment. Yeah, you did the outside the home business. Quickly looking through here, sound and explosion effects. I don't know what that's about.
Oh yeah, I've been doing quite a bit of scripting, playing around.
That's right. You're,
and I posted it all. The scripts are free. They're public domain. They're up on Hypergrid Business, and I've also been making copies of everything and putting it up on Kitely, so anybody on any Hypergrid enabled grid can buy it. And I've put the prices onto like the lowest setting for both dollars and Kitely credits, so it's up there in my store. So I've been having fun with that, and my building skills may not be the greatest, but it's a small, useful, practical thing to have. So why not?
Indeed.
Sounds good.
Just firing off another link in here. I can't remember this one actually. I must have read it at the time, or I wouldn't have posted it. It's actually a piece on fashion, a virtual reality fashion show proof of concept. There's a nice little video there, which I probably put somewhere. But it's a site called Virtual Reality Ventures, and it's just a piece on fashion It's
not by me, because I know nothing about fashion.
No. This link is
You will.
It's actually to a site apparently called Virtual Reality Ventures. Yes, Virtual Reality Ventures is the name of the website. So interesting. That I remember looking at the little clip there. So that was just an add-on. I reckon we should do a special show one week from Hyperia. Sit in the middle of all your teleports.
Oh, yeah. I'm finishing up a redesign. So hopefully this week or the next, we're going to have all new stuff there. And the gates look beautiful. I've already seen, we're going with designer on that, so it's going to be gorgeous. And we're going to have a little cafe and a meeting place there. And we're going to reactivate the Hypergrid Entrepreneur Group. So if you're an entrepreneur building stuff in OpenSim and the Hypergrid, keep an eye out for that. And I guess I can drop a little word about this. Also, that's going to be going live a little bit later. I'm going to be offering free marketing support, advice, and services for people who are doing stuff in the virtual world. I'm going to go all out on being a metaverse evangelist, a meta-evangelist, if you will, because that's the stuff that I enjoy the most writing about and helping people out. So like this week, I was helping a builder get some commercial material up, getting a little ad up, getting a little branding, figuring out her brand colors and identity and everything else. And I'm like, I really, really enjoy doing this. Yeah. So, and as a journalist for a really long time, I've been on the receiving end of so much of this that it's really fun to be on the other side.
Restricted, I presume, to the Hypergrid. You're not going to offer this thing to.
Well, okay. So I do occasionally do marketing communications work for large corporate clients when it doesn't conflict with the regular writing, and I disclose the conflict of interest to my editors, and I charge a lot of money for that. So if you're a non-virtual world person who wants my services, you know where to find me. And for the virtual worlds people, it's going to be a pay what you want approach. So
great.
Tip jar.
Yeah. Not a tip jar, but kind of like pay whatever you think the service, whatever you want. Pay what you want.
That's nice. That's really nice, Maria. Yeah. And that's great, too.
Yeah.
I noticed actually you've been using, I don't know, a meta evangelist. You've been using Meta Maria quite a bit now, haven't you?
I'm trying to.
That little branding.
Yeah. I'm trying to. But I just invented the word meta evangelist just now.
Oh, okay.
Right on.
I should quick brand the meta. I don't even know how to spell it.
Yeah, exactly. It sort of has a ring to it until you try to spell it.
Meta-evangelist. And it sounded a little dirty in the middle there.
So everybody typing everything in there. I thought that said meta vampire for a minute, and I haven't got my glasses on.
That's another concept.
I haven't got my glasses on, but
yeah, without the N in the middle. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, with the eye, it looks too much like pugilist, which is a boxer. Now that's really great, though.
If you start with evangelist and then change out the E for meta.
Yep. Exactly, yes.
That's it. There you go. Put some angel wings on one corner of it and you'll have a logo.
Oh, and then it's got the word angel in the middle. Okay, that's much better.
Actually came with the religious. Than
the word vaginal, which was the other thing I was thinking of.
It's the V and the A. Yeah.
I don't think it came with a religious symbolism of evangelist. I used to think it was a great word, but then I sort of went away thinking, I don't really approve of evangelist. But then I thought, well, you got mission, Meta Maria's mission. As a mission
I am on a mission.
Yes.
I feel as though I am on a mission.
Well, software evangelists have been around for some time now.
Oh, yeah, of course. No, it's a fair enough word if people want to use it, yeah. Yeah, no, great stuff.
All been bitten by the bug, huh? But it's a good bug.
Yeah, it's a great way. No, so that's some my attitude too. You know, sort of. Obviously, if somebody's going to cough at some age to do something, fine. But you know, just do it because we like doing it and we're promoting it. So it's great stuff. Anyway, I think it's sort of wrap up time, more or less. We might even make it under the 2 hours.
I might make it to the ball.
You might make it to the ball. Oh God, can't keep
Before she turns into a
yet something else.
something else.
Can't keep our tiny Cinderella from the ball, can we? A pumpkin. Yes, you can be come as a pumpkin next week. Oh yeah, great. Okay, closing remarks. Petlove.
Yeah.
Happily talking, but I mean, what's been up with you and what's coming up with you?
Well, I mentioned the giant snail races the other day, and there will be a couple more of those events. And I'm looking now I'm pulling one of your tricks and looking back through this. I got the information from Racer earlier. Castle Home and Garden Tour and the Castle Contest are coming up June 9th to the 15th, and the snail races will be there for that. So you want to go to Racer's blog, I guess, which I'll try to find the URL shortly, but that's the main thing. The panel that I mentioned last week of the Silicon Valley Virtual Reality Conference that was held, the second actually edited version of the panel that had Philip and Ebby together with 3 other gentlemen who are also movers and shakers in the virtual. That's available on a view now. And did you get that, Mal?
Yeah, I did get that actually.
Okay.
I haven't watched it fully because obviously I've seen the
It's
panel
long.
anyway,
it's an hour and 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But
I probably will because I noticed you've included some of the Road to VR footage that they took, but it's that actually dropped when it moved into the demonstration of High Fidelity itself with Philip's wife and God, I've forgotten his name already. So you know, it'd be nice to see it for that bit because we never got that on the real world stream, so to speak.
The road to where? What?
Oh, sorry, no, sorry. Sorry.
I did.
All that footage, all that footage that was broadcast on the web was done by a site called Road to VR, which we've mentioned a couple of times today.
Oh, okay.
And in fact, the camera person worked for LinkedIn.
Oh, I'd like to chat with them.
Yeah. But that was a separate stream from, I think, the one. It was certainly I'm getting confused because I think the one Emma filmed. The first day, which
he
had
did.
Philip's own presentation.
Right.
That got cut off on the web stream. But I think there was a continuing stream in World. I'm not sure. But
it was. I know you mean at LEA, at the LEA theater.
Yeah.
That
I think they were taking a different.
That Aview sponsored.
Yeah, I think they were taking a different feed, so that it may be a bit more complete.
Yeah, we had our direct feed.
Anyway. Yeah.
Yep. Well, what I'm talking about is another one. It's just twice as long. Yeah. And it has some of the VWBPE footage, some of the footage from. I had to intermix some footage from Second Life. My mission was to do it as though I had been a person watching, and including the real life presentation with some virtual footage.
Yeah.
So I tried to be pertinent.
It was nice. It was nice. Well, I have got that, so very good.
Good.
we got. I must say, the coverage of that conference in the aftermath has been phenomenal. I mean, those clips have been anything to do with them have been posted all over the place.
Really,
sometimes
fantastic.
in double on different blogs, and they're still coming up today.
Dragster did a wonderful job mediating that panel that I did. He was terrific. So anyway, that's about it for me. Really, just giant snail races. And happy hunting.
I'm missing we don't flatten some of the Sims in Second Life with the invasion of the giant snails at all these events.
There's nothing like seeing 2 or 3 giant snails squeezing their way, jockeying for position down like a road. It's just hilarious.
A narrow street.
A normal street,
or going under a bridge or something.
They just went through the buildings yesterday. They didn't even bother trying to go around.
I think it's one of these times when we can be grateful that the physics of virtual worlds do not emulate the physics of real life.
And that's the beauty of it. Yeah.
Can you just imagine? Yeah, invasion of the giant snails from Mars or something.
It would be like James and the Giant Peach, with the giant peach, stuck up on top of the Empire State Building. If you ever saw that, terrific little movie. And that would sort of be like giant snails in a city street.
I remember Godzilla stuck on the top of it.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah.
Similar sort of thing.
I just took my grandma to see Godzilla.
Ah.
I can, that'd be great in the virtual world. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm sure it's been done. If there's a new Godzilla out, isn't there? Is that the one you're talking about? Yeah.
I actually read an interesting review of that. I mean, apparently they've played down the actual monster sort of thing, and they're actually addressing the sort of metaphor for social events, social affairs and things.
I know the last one, they had us all feeling sorry for Godzilla and all the eggs that she laid that were going to be destroyed, and it was sort of like sad.
No, this one was not particularly sad. They mentioned the nuclear tests, but that's the premise of every Godzilla movie, really.
Sure.
Was the nuclear testing. So just like an homage to the 50s. But for the most part, it was a monster versus monster movie. Godzilla was the good guy.
All right.
Yeah.
Good.
Humanity was the monster.
No, the other monsters were the bad. There were two kinds of monsters.
Oh, okay.
And Godzilla was the good one, and the other guys were the bad guys. And they fought each other across San Francisco, destroying the town. Sorry, I didn't mean to give it all away.
I'm still going to go watch it.
Yeah,
if it's on TV or something, I might watch it. I don't think I'd rush out and buy it.
No, it's a movie you want to see on a big screen because it's a roller coaster movie with these giant monsters, and they look a lot more giant on a giant screen.
Right.
You need to see that
giant
big.
monsters. Yeah. And the other benefit of this movie is my grandmother.
Well, I can watch it in a Samsung phone on a Samsung gadget.
Yes, you can. That's what you're looking for. My grandmother is Russian. She's in her 90s, and she just moved to the United States recently. And she doesn't speak much English, and she could follow the movie without any problems.
Good.
And she enjoyed it.
So that's a benefit if you don't happen to be a fluent English speaker.
And she enjoyed it.
Oh, she loved it, yes.
Okay, well, I guess that's some kind of recommendation in itself. Maybe I will watch it.
Also, one of the main characters in the movie was a nurse, and my grandmother was a nurse her whole life too. So there was a personal connection there for her.
Oh, right.
She could relate.
She could relate, exactly.
Yeah. So have you brought her into a virtual world yet?
I was just thinking maybe she could be a guest. We'll get a translator.
I did show her the stuff that I was doing in Second Life and OpenSim a while back, and she was really excited about it. Oh. And I'm lobbying right now to have her move in with me. And if she does, then absolutely, I'm going to try to get her in World. Yeah.
Super. There are a lot of Russian-speaking people here in Second Life. I run across them more and more when I'm online.
Yep, there's a Russian community inside Second Life. And there's also Russian grids. And there's, I shouldn't say this out loud because I pretend I don't know about it, but there's sites out there that translate my articles into Russian.
Nice. Excellent.
I'm violating copyright, but like I said, I don't know that they exist. So
you have to, in a way, you just turn a blind eye because quite fact, if they sent links to you, then people would moan they can't read them because they're in English. So I've come across a few sites that literally take in Europe and Italian, French sites that literally even reprint Lindenland press releases, but they just reprint them in their own language on their own blogs.
Press releases are fine. You're supposed to print press releases. But copyright content, you're supposed to ask for permission before translating it because you do own the translation rights to your article. And these days, the automatic translators are really, really good.
Yeah, that's the point. Yeah.
So, I read so much foreign stuff with Google Translate. I don't even notice half the time when I'm on a foreign site because, often. like for example, in China, the stuff that Google Translate does is as good as what the local translators do. So, so you can't even tell the difference in a bad local translation and a Google translation.
Well, wait a minute now.
It's interesting, actually. Back before I started using my apps like Flipboard and Feedly on the iPad, when I used to do stuff on the web, I frequently did. What I would do is I'd go to an article that sounded interesting. I'd fire it up in Google Translate, and then I'd actually tweet the link to the Google Translate document, so that my English followers would actually go straight to an English interpretation. I haven't done that recently, though. I don't think I've got the right buttons on my iPad to do that easily.
Maybe they'll add it to the Oculus.
I have my browser settings set to automatically translate foreign sites. So as far as I'm concerned, the entire web's in English.
The whole world.
Yeah.
It's in English. I just get a little pop-up in the top of the window saying, this site has been translated.
That's awesome. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
And I'm about to add that as a function to my blog. One of the OpenSim hosting providers suggested a service that I can use for my WordPress blog to add translation to it in case somebody doesn't already have a translation system that they're using.
Oh, that's ideal, yeah, because that way, whatever source they come from, they can do it when they get there. Yeah.
And your reach is just expanded. More and more people will, have the benefit of your expertise and the things that you like to write about. So that's a good thing, really.
Yeah, it is.
Depends on who you ask.
Viral,
modest.
Viral, make it viral.
Oh, the mantra.
Let's go viral. Yeah. I have to stick with that mantra and actually do something about it.
It sounds like a video to me.
It does. Viral killed the video. Something. Never mind.
We'll have to work on that.
Viral was the video.
Indeed. Okay, and Tara, anything else occur to you before we do the wrap bit?
Well, I thought we were doing the wrap bit.
This is the wrap bit, right?
This is the wrap bit.
This is the wrap bit. Anything you want to wrap with?
No, other than I think it's going to be a great week for being outdoors in the RL sim.
She's excited.
But I'm not trying to get into the into the Gacha event.
Okay, yes, that should be that. That was the thing I was remembering earlier. I've seen a lot of blogs posting both for the Fashion for Life event, showing what's coming up, but also the Catcher event. I've seen lots
arcade event. Oh yeah,
lots of pictures of people sort of you get these critters and animations that go with them, and you ride the critters, and all the sorts of really bizarre stuff that you can only find at those events. So interesting indeed. Okay, well, I think we'll call it a wrap. We have slipped over the hour, but only by micro minutes or something. So we will be back, of course, next week. Hopefully, if it all goes to plan, we'll have Anna McMillan back next week. She couldn't make it this week, and possibly a very special guest that I'm really well excited about, and so is Tara. Whether she can make it, I'm not entirely sure, so I'm not going to blow it. If you want to watch this show in replay, please do. You'll find a nice high-resolution video-on-demand copy at slartist.com. And the replay of this show will also be available in slightly low resolution here on live stream as part of the Week in Review when it's posted tomorrow. A very big, long, and extremely eclectic selection of clips coming up tomorrow, by the way, in Week in Review. Lots of machinima, lots of arts and music, and lots of destinations. And in fact, that is what the Week in Review is now that we've moved the other stuff over to Meta World 1. So, I think that's it. I think I've said everything I need to say. Thanks, of course, to AView TV for helping us bring this program to you. And we will be back same time next week, which, of course, if you want to watch it live, is noon Second Life time. That's Pacific time, for those of you who don't understand what SLT is. And we'll be here then. So bye for now. Oh, and, of course, thank you to all our guests. Saffia, who's now departed. Maria, thank you.
Thank you for having me, Mal. It's been a pleasure.
Petlove, thank you.
What Maria said.
And Tara, thank you.
Anytime.
And all the time, actually. Right. And me. Thank me. Oh. Bye all.
Bye.
Thank me. Bye all.